Welcome to the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson Assumption of Command Ceremony for Brigadier General Jason A. Curl. Today, the command and colors of the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson will be received by Brigadier General Curl as he assumes command. The Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson trains brigade combat teams to conduct large-scale combat operations on the decisive action battlefield against a near-peer threat with multi-domain capabilities. Fort Johnson enables assigned FORSCOM units to build readiness in support of globally deployable missions while facilitating a high quality of life for soldiers and Army families. This morning, we welcome the new Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson Commanding General. Among our distinguished guests for today's ceremony are Lieutenant General Stephen G. Smith, Deputy Commanding General, United States Army Forces Command. Miss Whitney Lambright, Speaker Mike Johnson's office. Mr. Woody Daigle, Senator John Kennedy's office. Miss Tommy Seaton, Senator Bill Cassidy's office. Mr. Dane Guidry and Mrs. Donna Howe, Representative of Julie Letlow's office. Senator Mike Reese, Louisiana 30th District. Representative Rodney Shammerhorn, Louisiana 24th District. Mayor Rick Allen, Leesville. Mayor Misty Roberts, DeRidder. Mayor Donna Duvall, Rosepine. Mayor Vicki Sandifer, Simpson. Mayor Keith Lewing, Anacoco. Major General and Mrs. Thomas Freelow, Adjutant General Louisiana National Guard. Brigadier General and Mrs. Michael Greer, Assistant Adjutant General, Louisiana National Guard. Undersecretary John Phillips, Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs. Mr. Logan Morris, Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army. At this time, Sergeant Rivera is presenting a bouquet of yellow roses to Mrs. Rebecca Curl, welcoming her to the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson. Yellow is the color of new beginnings and symbolizes her arrival to the installation. In time, the rosebuds will blossom, as will Becky's relationship with soldiers, civilians, and their families. In front of you today are the unit colors and the command teams of Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson. The soldiers standing before you on the field represent the major subordinate commands of the installation. From your left, they are the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson Operations Group, commanded by Colonel Matthew Hardman and Command Sergeant Major Michael Hall. The 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, represented by Colonel Derek Johnson and Command Sergeant Major Andrew Baxter. The brigade colors are cased while the brigade is deployed in support of Operation Atlantic Resolve. The United States Army Garrison, Fort Johnson, commanded by Colonel Clifton Lopez and Command Sergeant Major Braden Sickles. The United States Army Medical Department Activity, commanded by Colonel Elisa Wilma and Command Sergeant Major Larry White. The 32nd Hospital Center, commanded by Colonel Danielle Rodondi and Master Sergeant Richard Aguilar. The colors are comprised of soldiers of Operations Group led by Command Sergeant Major David Hanson. The 1st Battalion, 5th Aviation Regiment, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel James Polk and Command Sergeant Major Jack Essig. The 519th Military Police Battalion, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Josh Larson and Command Sergeant Major David Balcon. The 46th Engineer Battalion, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Sean Woodard and Command Sergeant Major Alvaro Madrigal. The 3rd Battalion, 353rd Regiment, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Jim Authors and 1st Sergeant James Keown. The United States Army Dental Health Activity, represented by Captain Marco Ruiz and Corporal Miranda King. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is Colonel Mark Andres. Please stand for the invocation given by Senior Installation Chaplain Michael Jeffries and remain standing for the posting of the colors and playing of the national anthem.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon today's ceremony. Transitions in leadership have been part of the Army since 1775 all the way until today. Guide us through this time and bless us with your presence. We are thankful for Brigadier General Jason Curl and ask your blessing upon him. Grant to him wisdom and success in the position he has been appointed to as the senior commander of JRTC and Fort Johnson. We remember his wife Becky and 3 children as well, And once again, we welcome them back to JRTC and Fort Johnson and ask your blessing upon them. Strengthen us as the JRTC and Fort Johnson community to commit our loyalty and full support to General Curl, to work together to train the nation's brigade combat teams, deploy combat power, and care for our soldiers and families here at Fort Johnson. Lord, as the psalmist states, train our hands for war and our fingers for battle, so that we are a deterrent to our enemies, a refuge to our friends, and security to our nation. God bless the United States Army and the JRTC and Fort Johnson family. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reviewing officer, Lieutenant General Stephen G. Smith, will now take his place. Please be seated. Now join Lieutenant General Stephen G. Smith is Brigadier General Jason A. Curl. Throughout military history, unit colors have marked the position of the commander on the battlefield and served as a rallying point in times of confusion. In recent times, colors have come to symbolize the authority of command. The passing of colors represents the transfer of authority and responsibility from one commander to another. The sergeant major are the custodians of the colors and are the first link in an unbroken chain. Lieutenant General Smith will pass the colors. As the ceremony begins, Command Sergeant Major Hanson will pass the colors to Lieutenant General Smith. Lieutenant General Smith will pass the colors to Brigadier General Curl, thereby serving his responsibility and authority. Brigadier General Curl will pass the colors back to Command Sergeant Major Hanson, completing the chain and returning the colors to the color bearer for their safekeeping. By authority of Army Regulation 600-20, paragraph 2-5, the undersigned assumes command of the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson, effective 11 July 2024. Signed, Jason A. Curl, Brigadier General, United States Army, commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reviewing officer for today's Assumption Command, Lieutenant General Stephen G. Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I appreciate having the podium and the sun here. I think this is a trick to make sure we keep it short. All the speakers keep our speeches short, remarks short. And so I feel the pain from the MP battalion over here to the DENTAC, and so we'll keep it short. This is kind of like a to-be continued TV series here. So last time, when we last left this BAT station, we took away Dave Gardner and Evie Gardner away from you and launched them towards Fort Liberty and Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I'm here to tell you that they did arrive. They reported in. They're present for duty. They've occupied their house, and they're good to go. And what I want to tell you is not only do you train brigades and divisions and soldiers so well here at JRTC, but Dave Gardner is doing great up at FORSCOM, training 70% of the United States Army now. And so you trained him as well. So good job, and it validates your training plan here at JRTC. So good morning. And on behalf of General Pappas and the Forces Command team, thank you all for being here to welcome back Brigadier Jason Curl and Becky to your fold here at JRTC and Fort Johnson in this great warrior community. I'd also like to recognize up front here Jason's and Becky's family that is not present for duty here, but they're present for duty elsewhere. Their oldest daughter, Adrienne, in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and I understand you just had a wedding there, so congratulations to both of you and her for the wedding. That's exciting times. And Alex, who is attending college at the State University in New York, which is in Jason and Becky's hometown of Cortland, and daughter Allison, who's in Clemson, South Carolina, proud Tiger. We're going to have to talk about that. Most of my 529 money and GI Bill went to NC State, so we got a little ACC rivalry here. Jason and I will work that out in our counseling after this ceremony. So I'd like to recognize also all the great community leaders here, the representatives, the elected officials, those who are representing the elected officials, the DA civilians, this entire team here that's represented on the field here and in the audience. Thank you for being here. You're all a valuable part of our Army, of our nation, of JRTC and the Army team. So thank you for being here to recognize this great commander. Recognize the protocol team here again for what you have done. I know there's a lot of hard work, and it always looks smooth on the surface here at JRTC and Fort Johnson, but I know there's a lot of paddling underneath the water here to make all this happen, and you do it effortlessly. Thank you very much. Command Sergeant Major Hanson, color guard, looks great again. It's good to see most of y'all from last time still in formation there, looking great. And the soldiers on the field, every one of them here represent the entirety of Fort Johnson and JRTC and what this post and this installation is all about. And please join me in a round of applause for them and those they represent. A big thank you here to Mark Andres, who quickly became my best friend for texting and email, I think within hours of me leaving Alexandria Airport last month, and as he assumed command of this installation in JRTC. Thank you for holding down the fort over the last month, Mark, and it would have been a success if you just kept the lights on, but you did more than that. You did much more than that. You managed a complicated transition and a period of transition here in our Army in this installation. You maintained the momentum of this big JRTC machine and continued to safeguard the health and welfare and safety of our soldiers and our civilians that live and work on Fort Johnson. Well done, Mark. Thank you very much for what you have done. Completely an expert and proud of what you did, and just pleasure to serve with you, and thank you very much. Round of applause for Mark. So again, the motto here is forging the warrior spirit, and my aide and I ran the anvils again today to remind us of what it's about here at Fort Johnson. But this is much more than a motto. It is a mindset we have here in this community, in this installation. And Jason Curl has lived that motto throughout his career, training formations to fight and win from platoon to division level, deployed and led formations from company level to battalion level in combat, and most recently served as a director of operations for Iraq and Syria as part of Coalition Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, a complex and challenging assignment. I can attest to it, and I think we can all just look at the past year, what's been going on in the Middle East, and understand what Jason has managed and led his way through and led the team through over there. Without a doubt, Jason has learned a lot of valuable lessons here the last year about joint and coalition warfare, and he'll contribute immensely to the JRTC mission. And Jason, I know all this that I just said about you could not be possible without Becky and your family. Becky, thank you for continuing to show us what an Army spouse does so well, raising your own family, caring for your own family, caring for that soldier right there, caring for all of our soldiers, and caring for spouses and being a mentor just by your presence and your grace. Thank you very much for what you do for our Army as well. Jason, you have the full trust and confidence of our Army senior leaders, of General Pappas. You've already proven that. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't true. And I wish you the best of luck as you transition to command here and grab the reins of this great installation and its critical mission. To the soldiers here, the leaders, the families, the DA, civilians, all compos, good to see the tag here. Tom, glad you're here. Fort Johnson, I do want to take this opportunity as I close this out to thank you very much for what you all do and reinforce our appreciation for what you do on a daily basis here. The Chief of Staff of the Army's #1 priority is warfighting. There is no other reason why we have an Army. The only reason we have an Army is to fight and win our nation's wars. That's our Chief's priority, and that's our priority. The FORSCOM Commander's priority is to be able to win the first fight when we do deploy to battle again, and we will, is to win the first fight. Warfighting is what FORSCOM does. That is what we do. That's why we exist, is to train soldiers and units how to fight wars and win wars in support and defense of our Constitution in this wonderful nation we have. This is what JRTC does so well. This is the place in these pine trees and these swamps and these streams and rivers out here in this heat and humidity. This is a place where you learn how to do that. This is it. This is where you come since the Louisiana maneuvers to get out here, make your mistakes here, to test our ability to fight and win so we are ready. We don't have to get ready when the phone call comes, and it will. So thank you very much for what all of you do, what you commanders, command sergeants, majors do, and your formations that are out there doing it right now. Thank you very much for what you do. Freedom's Guardian, this will defend. Who?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Commanding General of the Joint Readiness Training Center and Fort Johnson, Brigadier General Jason A. Curl.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you all for being here today. There are so many people to thank on this day. Time won't permit me to thank all of them, but please allow me to mention a few before I speak more directly to the men and women of the Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Johnson. Lieutenant General Smith, I appreciate your trust and a tremendous vote of confidence from you and General Pappas. Thanks for being here today. I want to reemphasize my personal commitment to lead this command with everything I have. I really appreciate the Gardners, what the Gardners did for this installation. Under Major General Gardner's command, JRTC and Fort Johnson achieved remarkable success, and I am committed to building on this strong foundation. His dedication and leadership left an indelible mark on everyone here. To Becky and all of our family watching online, thank you for your continued support. I know Fort Johnson has a special relationship with the Vernon, Beauregard, Rapides, Sabine, and Calcasieu parishes, and Becky and I are thrilled to be back here in Central Louisiana. We look forward to continuing the close partnership that our communities share with Fort Johnson. When we were here last time, we were extremely impressed by your caring and concern for our soldiers and families and for the patriotism you show every day. To the soldiers, civilians, and families of JRTC and Fort Johnson, I am privileged to join a team renowned for its professionalism, resilience, and commitment. Your hard work and sacrifices are the backbone of our operations and the foundation of our success. I am eager to work alongside each of you, to learn from you, and to lead with the same spirit of excellence that you demonstrate every day. Our mission at JRTC and Fort Johnson is clear, and this mission requires dedication, innovation, relentless pursuit of excellence. It demands that we embrace change, adapt to challenges, and always strive to improve. I am honored to lead this remarkable team. I am excited about the opportunities that lie ahead and confident in our collective ability to overcome any challenge. Together, we will continue to build on the proud legacy of this installation, ensuring that our soldiers are prepared to meet the demands of today and the uncertainties of tomorrow. Thank you for the warm welcome and the trust and confidence. I look forward to serving with each and every one of you, leading with you, and achieving great things together, all the way forging the warrior spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army Song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending the Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Johnson Assumption of Command ceremony. There is a reception to welcome Brigadier General Curl and Mrs. Curl in the Warrior Center. All are invited to attend. Again, thank you for attending and have a great Team Johnson day.